What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So there's been reporting based on some hearsay, and this is very interesting to highlight that Xbox is in trouble as a hardware manufacturer. This is also being followed with some more reporting that it appears that at least one major developer is wondering why they bothered even supporting Xbox as a platform. Chris Drings brings this news, and I wanted to give my perspective from an indie developer, of which right now myself and a team of developers and artists are working on bringing a small video game experience to our community, and how we view it, and why, in my opinion, I think it's important that we can look at it from different positions and come up with what I think is a very good balance as to what this is. And again, there's no verification to this reporting, but it's important that we hear it from everybody's perspective, and then we give our own thoughts. So here is the clip. I'm going to play it shortly, and then we're going to basically talk about it.
With Xbox, because that's the other thing I heard. I heard it from a very prominent company and one not so prominent, was Xbox's performance in Europe is just flatlining. Praise one major company who released a big game last year said, I don't know why we bothered supporting it. Wow. And we've already got, we mentioned on a previous podcast, we'd heard that retailers in Europe were considering or had already been cutting back their Xbox stock on their shelves and whether that, hardware games, that kind of thing. I think Xbox is in real trouble as a hardware manufacturer. And that was the thing that came out of GDC for me, because I always just thought, I've always been the belief, it's the Game Pass delivery system, it's good, it's got a good UI, it's got a good controller, it's it's if you like Xbox games, it's probably the best way to play them, etc. I thought it would be fine, but then I didn't really factor in that some developers and publishers might just go, yeah, I don't, is there any point? And that is when you can lose it.
Backing up.
Okay, so he said, he sees a situation, having heard from one developer, so let's be very careful how we heard this clip, because this clip looks like it's been mashed up. That hearing from one developer, he can see how other developers can say this. Now, I'm going to give my own thoughts and, my own opinions, because this game that we're working on, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually targeting trying to reach the Xbox and the PlayStation 5 platforms. Now, I know many of you know I'm more of a PC aficionado, but I'm also a console player. I understand how the console and PC network and ecosystems have kind of flown together since I predicted that Marvel Spider-Man needed to come to the PC platform in 2018. I have a video to that. And looking at these numbers over the years, there is almost no reason, if you can as a developer, make your game available to as many players as you possibly can. It's basically creative suicide for you to decide or choose that you're going to go ahead and ignore a platform, especially when that platform has tens of millions of users that still exist on that platform. Now, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about our development process so far. If you look at my Unreal Engine, platform, this is as transparent as I can give it to you. I cannot open these files because we're still working on them. But right here on the, in my little project, layout, you're going to see multiple projects that are called Crimson, and these projects, and some of them that are not necessarily named Crimson, are actually linked with a lot of the prototyping that we've been doing. You also realize that I have 4 different versions of Unreal Engine installed here as well, because this is my main development PC. And so we've been working hours, putting in a lot of resources, creative minds, doing a lot of legal stuff, bantering back and forth to be able to get this game to a place where we think the fans and the audiences are going to basically love it. As of now, our development process has made some headway, and I wanted to go ahead and also give you guys some sort of an update about it based on the systems and the prototypes that we've been able to take charge of and basically prototype fully anyways in pre-alpha stage. So right now we have our basic character systems, movement, camera, combat. That wasn't too difficult. We were able to acquire a framework from a very creative developer, because Unreal Engine has, a marketplace system where people can build frameworks that you can use. So instead of me going to, build combat systems from scratch, we acquired a framework that we're building upon, and it's been really helpful for us so far. Basically fast-tracked us a little bit, further than we would have actually been. And so Shout out to that, creator, yourself. We've also been able to take care of basic combat, as in how the characters interact and react, who's going to kill who. And then we've also been able to take care of a basic stealth system in pre-alpha. We also have our basic AI and a basic level environment that you can play in right now. However, that environment now needs us to put all these systems in together and create a cohesive experience that you can play from start to finish. And that's basically what we're going to prototype in pre-alpha and bring you that episode when it's done and when it's complete. Now, in putting all this here on the table, I don't see how I, as an indie developer, and my team will look at Xbox with 21 million users and say, it's not worth going on there. Now, not saying that the game is going to, be this thing that blows everybody's socks off. I'm not saying that. I don't even know how the quality of the game is going to go. We're still in pre-alpha prototyping stuff. But from a marketing perspective and from the position that we want to reach people and put out our game as our first title, I strongly believe that this is not the case for our team. In fact, we would be elated when we put in our application for ID at Xbox, for them to accept our application, for them to go ahead and basically verify everything we need and give us the API, which would be under NDA. I won't be able to show you that if it actually works out. They'll give you, your documentation to sign. They'll give you everything that you need. And you can basically go on from there and, start developing your game using development kits that they will more than likely send you. But honestly, even if they don't send development kits ahead of time, I already have my Xbox Series X. It's a development kit. I bought it specifically because I wanted to have a development kit at hand so that if at any time we ever were to make progress and we got the SDK from Epic Games and Microsoft, we could start developing straight for the Xbox Series X. And more than likely, I think we're going to start with the Series S so that it is not a hindrance. Now, Chris Drains' report makes me think that there probably are people who are, big developers who are looking and saying, we made a lot of money on the PlayStation side and on PC side. Probably wasn't even worth all the stress to go through porting for Xbox. However, there are more companies than these individuals that would love to get on the Xbox platform. Myself and my team's game included on top of that. And I'm sure that there are many developers out there, except they don't know the console ecosystem, that are going to basically go ahead and say, we're going to go ahead and abandon this. So this is why I have a little bit of what I think is hesitation in holding on to what it is that is reported here in this particular clip. Now, if you go to Twitter, and this is the problem that we have, a lot of people are there to console war. Even people who cast doubt on this, they make light of it and they mock other people. And so the conversation is all over the place. And I got into a little, back and forth with someone when I actually cast doubt on this. And they were trying to make it sound like I was being, rude when I called this reporting a fugazi, because I don't think it applies to every other developer or many other developers out there, because you guys just heard his clip. He said, seeing that this is the case, I can see how, that's him drawing a conclusion in his mind from the perspective of someone who's trying to make sense of what he heard from one particular developer who released a big game. If I was to guess, it will be Baldur's Gate 3 from Larian, because the Series S basically gave him a lot of issues, and they threw the game out there finally in December. And on PC, the game was already successful. I don't think it even needed, any more. But if it had come out at the same time as a PS5, I think would have been able to get a lot of sales data. But that's just my hypothesis. But we can't be certain that it's Larian or anybody else. So I made this comment and I said, I don't think this is, a matter of, say, somebody, trying to abandon a platform, because whoever is a developer looks at the Xbox platform, Series X with 21 million users, and says, it's not worth it. I strongly believe that they're just opening and leaving room for AAA developers who don't care what the indie developers feel, who are threatened by the indie developers. And I'm not talking about us. We ain't made anything yet, but I'm talking about the smaller studios that are actually pushing ground. Power World, you saw that, right? That was a game that actually went crazy on the Xbox platform out of nowhere. Even the Lies of P that was also on Game Pass did pretty well from a AA studio. And many other AA studios are coming out with some really good games. Now, if they're not receiving money from PlayStation or some incentive, why would they go ahead and abandon Xbox? Especially when you see this particular comment here that I actually raised and said, Modern Warfare 3, The latest Call of Duty that we have right now is on PS4 and Xbox One. That is, even Hogwarts Legacy basically spread itself thin to those platforms and the Switch to be able to grab a hold of the highest selling game last year. Because Zelda ran wild. It did almost the same number of copies in sales that Hogwarts Legacy did. But imagine all of the depths that, that team had to basically, dig into and reach to be able to basically ensure that their sales were all over there. And that is a solid strategy that I think anyone who really wants to be, in a position in this market will have to stretch themselves too. It would mean scaling their game down. It would mean making sacrifices. It will mean doing things differently in a way that actually allows for this to happen. Possibly maybe doing phase by phase development, just the way Avalanche did it, but theirs was much shorter. Larian has done this before. They've released the game and waited about a year before bringing out a console version. This is not the first time Larian has, delayed a console version in the case of Baldur's Gate 3. I think they did it with maybe Divinity Original Sin Part 2 or so. Other studios and other companies will do it because the more you can reach audiences, the more that they're willing to stick with you if they like your game. So from a business perspective, this reporting does not make any sense. Now, to some it might make sense, but I don't see how it makes sense, especially seeing all the effort, all the resources, everything that is being put into making a game. And then many indie developers will see this as, oh, we're just not going to try. In fact, if many of them are thinking, and this is the irony, if say even 20 developers say, we don't care about Xbox, there are 20 more that are happy that they don't have to compete with those 20. So from an indie's perspective, this reporting has a lot that needs to be addressed in terms of making things, clear. It has a lot that needs to be addressed in terms of, what is the context, and maybe possibly even citing the developer that must have said this, but that developer is never going to come out and say this. Why? Because that's going to create a PR nightmare for them. Imagine a fan base hearing or a user base hearing that you don't care to serve them or it's not worth serving them. They're going to look at you and say, well, we're not, you're not worth us giving our money. And in this market, no one is going to come out and say a thing like that. So I cast doubt on this reporting. You may believe it. It may be, sensible to take a look at it. But for those of you who've been asking about the progress of the game, here is what I have to show you so far. I'm hoping that very soon we can show you some gameplay. We can show you the means to actually get in on some play testing. That's definitely something that we'd love to do. We'll share details later. Thank you guys so much for your support and even continuing to check in on, the project and, even for your time and audience on this channel. I know I've been doing a whole bunch of other projects with, benchmarking and stuff. That's just me playing around. I don't really have time to play too many video games and look at a lot of gaming news. My attention and my focus is really, really being, pulled on this project. So the little bit I can do to just basically give you guys videos and give you guys content is what I'm doing at the moment. And it's based on you guys actually requesting that stuff anyway. So if you have anything you want to see on video, please let me know. If I'm able to do it, I'll do it. Those of you who were asking about gaming PCs, development PCs, that PC that I built for you guys is definitely your prototype that you can use to go, and move on from. So thanks so much for watching the video. Appreciate you guys' time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Like I said, peace out.